Hi, I'm Crystal McDaniel. I'm Mrs. Chattanooga America, and this is my Chattanooga. Right now, we are standing in the Kennedy Outpatient Clinic with Children's Hospital at Erlanger. And it is really a beautiful center. So I think that you're going to be able to see a lot of really wonderful things today. Right now, we are standing in the lobby, and we're in front of this beautiful, beautiful display where it says Believe Children Erlanger. And in the display, these letters actually are showing the history of the Children's Hospital for Erlanger, which I find to be very, very special. And they work hard for the children here. I want to quickly introduce my friend, Andrea Perry. And Andrea is going to be showing us the tour. Andrea heads up the Children's Miracle Network here in Chattanooga, where they do funding to fundraise for a lot of the things that you're going to see today in this video. When I'm working on mental health awareness, this is one of the things that I wanted to lift up, and Andrea does such a wonderful job with that. And so with this fundraising, they help to change things. And when they change things for the children, it actually helps the children and the parents lower their anxiety, lower the trauma that they are going through while they are here, and build a support system here so that the children have a better experience, and so do the parents. So we are thankful for the work that Andrea does right now, and that she is going to show us this wonderful facility. But I do want to ask you a question, Andrea. How do you personally think, I know what I think, but how do you personally think that what you do with the Miracle Network makes that difference in mental health awareness? Because I know a lot of it you get to see firsthand. So,
well, that's true. Obviously, the Children's Miracle Network is a fundraising platform. So monies that were raised from our corporate partners in this local community, they stay local, and they actually help to build this facility. So, and that was a significant lift in bringing something to this community for so many patients and families and kids who maybe they don't need an overnight stay per se in the hospital. They need to come for a visit, but just the anxiety of coming for a doctor's appointment, especially if you're not sure what's wrong, and you've got to have some tests run, and people, maybe poking and prodding and asking questions. It can be very traumatic,
yes,
for in a lot of ways.
Yes,
for a lot. None of us are the same, so it affects people differently. So the beauty of this place, which you'll see shortly, is that it was designed to look more like a children's museum, a fun place to come. In the background, you may hear what sounds like a choo-choo train.
Yep.
It is.
Yeah, actually,
it is, because there are kids who are here with doctor's visits, and there's a little button that they can press, and the train just kind of goes around the roof line of the second floor, and it looks very much like the skyline of Chattanooga with the Walnut Street Bridge. A lot of the detailing in this building was done to mirror the aesthetics of the surroundings.
Yes.
The bluffs over by the Hunter Museum.
Oh, wow.
Lookout Mountain. You'll see Louis the Lookout on a hang glider as we go around. So there are just a lot of things that were taken into consideration when this building was constructed and designed to look like a fun place to come, the place that kids would enjoy, that parents would enjoy bringing their kids to, even though it may not be for the most pleasant medical journey.
Right.
But everything else would be just so that they could take a deep breath and relax and de-stress a little bit. So from my perspective, that's where I see this and so many other areas of the hospital, for Children's Hospital, that take that pressure off as much as they can, given the circumstances.
Exactly. Exactly. And see, when I started this series, what I wanted was, when I first thought of it, I thought about showing all these beautiful places like Lookout Mountain and the things that, that Andrea just spoke about. But then I got to thinking about what really means the most to me. And although those places are very, very beautiful, which is exciting to hear that it mirrors that in here. So now you'll get to see a little bit of that, but for children and parents. But it just dawned on me that the real pulse and heartbeat here that actually helps with mental health and helps with the awareness is the people and the things that they do and the way they've even thought about how to do this and how to make sure that these children and these parents get the best environment and the best care that they possibly can get when they're going through something so traumatic.
Absolutely.
And it's important when you have a trauma going on that you do things like that. Having complex PTSD, it makes a big difference for those of us that have that. And so we want to not promote that continuing outside of situations like this.
Sure.
Yeah.
So this whole facility was taken with that in mind, and we'll even see if we can check out some of the exam rooms. There's a barn door that opens and closes on either side of the room so that the child never really sees the clinical aspect of it. They only see their doctor or their nurse and the fun stuff in the room. So a lot of has been taken into consideration to just bring that anxiety level down as much as possible. But if you're ready, we're happy to begin showing.
Let's do it. So let's go see what this children's outpatient clinic or center. I keep messing that up, but you know what? That's cool.
It's all right.
That's cool. That's cool. Because these videos for TikTok, they're never perfect anyway. So, oh well. So anyway, so we can see how they're doing it right here in this facility.
What you're seeing now is what we call our donor wall, and these bubbles, each of these bubbles represents either a singular donor or a group of donors who contributed to building this facility. This was probably upwards of $35 million in a 2.5-year period raised to build this facility. And each of these bubbles, as I said, they represent our donors. And if you'll notice, the glass behind it, all through on the top 2 floors, it's called vision glass. And as the sun brightens, the glass tints and gets darker. So it makes it a lot more comfortable for patients and families who are in the lobby or waiting for their appointments. They don't have to worry about being blinded by the light, quite literally. So if you'll go up just a little bit, you will see that there is a little bridge around the rim and a train or a locomotive. That is very indicative of Chattanooga. You can't have Chattanooga without trains and bridges, of course, and you'll see a bridge there that looks very similar to the Walnut Street Bridge and the Market Street Bridge. And if you go a little higher, there's our guide, Louie the Lookout, with the Lookout Mountain hang gliding, which is another part of our recreation in the Chattanooga area. This city is so beautiful, so the architects decided to bring the beauty of the city into this facility, and it just makes it so much fun. So I'm gonna go hit a button real quick because I want you to see what this train can do. This is kind of called an imagination zone, and different geometric figures, different colors. The kids can turn the lights off and on. And what's really cool about it is the dolphins, these were actually donated from the Tennessee Aquarium.
Oh,
And
wow.
they are now a part of this facility, and it just gives the kids just something else to look at and imagine and wonder. And if you'll notice, all the furnishings, everything is very kid friendly. So right now we are in the McKee family waiting room. And as we talked about a little earlier, they've got all the great stuff from the McKee family, the makers of Little Debbie snack cakes, one of my personal favorites. So they've got the history of the Jack's cookies and the Little Debbie icon, the iconic Little Debbie photograph, and some of my favorite snacks there as well. So this is just a really cool place. Obviously, the McKee family understood the assignment, and they made a significant investment in helping to bring this Kennedy Outpatient Center to life. So the waiting room is for our pediatric MRI, and it is truly dedicated for kids, and we'll show you why in just a little bit. So let's go back. What you're seeing now is our dedicated pediatric MRI. Now, if you think about an MRI machine, it looks like a big white donut. Well, this being a pediatric MRI, we had it wrapped to look like an actual donut. It has icing and sprinkles on it, and the walls, of course, have the great little sweet treat and goodies on the side. And when kids are going inside the machine, this is imaging, and it roars. It's really loud, which can be very frightening for kids. But they get to put headphones on and listen to their favorite music while they're having this procedure done. And again, this is another thoughtful element to help reduce some of the stress and anxiety when coming to the Kennedy Outpatient Center. Kennedy Outpatient Center also has surgical suites. They do outpatient surgery. A lot of it is dental, the surgery and things like that for kids. This is one of the outpatient rooms. When they come out of surgery, they come into recovery, and this is what one of the rooms looks like. But there are probably about 10 surgical suites where they can do all kinds of simple outpatient procedures, and the kids come in and they're out the same day.
And we can see in the rooms where they have brought in the fish and the ocean life and the freshwater life that Chattanooga has.
And if you look behind you, just take a nice easy turn, there's a little piece of art on the wall that carries that theme throughout as well.
Yes.
The turtles. So again, very thoughtful ideals and elements
Right.
brought in that, we've got Tennessee Aquarium, so why not have, pieces like this to make it light and fun and
Right.
less stressful.
The last thing parents want is to have stress, but at the exact same time, they're not here to tour. They're here to support their child. So it's very interesting that this outpatient center, the Kennedy Outpatient Center, is bringing in all of these aspects of the Tennessee Aquarium, which is a major tourism place. Tennessee Aquarium has the largest freshwater aquarium in the world right here on the Tennessee River, and then there's an ocean section too. So what they've done is just brought the joy of that right in here for the children and for the parents, which I think is really fantastic, because again, if your child's in the hospital, you're not there to tour. So what a great thing that they brought that in to let them have that type of atmosphere and experience Chattanooga within these walls. But no,
That is live.
That's live.
Yes.
They're watching the penguins live from the aquarium.
Yes, penguins live from the aquarium. This is another fun feature that
Yes.
makes us feel less like a hospital and more like a kids museum. So they go back and forth between the otters and the penguin exhibits. But this is probably one of my favorites because who doesn't just love these penguins? And
Yes.
they are not shy. So yeah, this is another feature. So this is one of the exam rooms in Pod A, the yellow pod, and nice bright colors. And if you notice that barn door that's over there, both doors that we enter, and on that side are barn doors, these sliding doors. So this makes it nice and convenient and also respects your privacy. But then on the other side of that door, and I will open that for you in just a little bit and show you, that's the clinical side that they don't get to see. So the doctor will come in from that side. And that's where the doctors and nurses are, any clinical work that's being done, that happens there. But the exam room happens here. So I want to pull this back. I don't know.
So the children never see the other side, so they
Hardly
don't.
ever.
That scary stuff stays away.
Especially this. This is, yeah. This they don't. This right here is just like it's a copier.
Yeah.
But the business side of it,
Right.
they don't see that. The doctor
Right.
would enter. The doctor or nurse would enter, proceed with the exam, and they're on their way.
Wow.
So everything around it kind of looks like, that looks like going over the mountains in the background there. And you've got the Gulf gas station in the background as well. There's a moon pie, lookout moon pie poster on the wall there. One of those vintage posters. And the monitor that you see there, that was a cartoon that was created telling the story of this tow truck.
Oh,
Coming to Children's Hospital.
How fun. What a great way to educate,
Sally the tow truck is her name.
And then a great way to educate.
Yeah, so the kids can come and watch this video while they're waiting to go in and have their exams done.
Yes.
And again, like I said, just everything about this place is designed to be holistic and thoughtful and caring. So
Yes.
this back end is open, so a child that's maybe in a wheelchair or on crutches can actually climb up and be driving the back of the fire truck.
That is fantastic. Jacob's like, something is very wrong with my mom. My son is filming today, and he says something is very wrong with my mom. Andrea, everything in here is so thoughtfully designed. So exactly how did they come up with this concept?
Well, the architect is a guy named Bruce Kaminsky, and basically this is what he does for a living. He builds children's hospitals and outpatient centers. That's what he does. And he said that as part of the process, he goes to the city first and just really kind of lives in the city, so to speak, and to get an idea of what's important to the people in that community.
Exactly.
The surroundings, taking photographs, and then coming back and coming up with designs that are thoughtful.
Yep.
A lot of research has gone into what helps children feel like they're in a safe environment.
Exactly.
What's fun to them, what is meaningful to them, and putting all of that together in a nutshell, coming up with things like the tow truck and the fire engine and Louie the Lookout for, there are just all kinds of neat things and neat features in this facility that it mirrors Chattanooga, and it treats and gives compassionate care to the kids, and it makes them feel like they've just had one of their best days.
Yes.
In this place.
Yes. In my experience in being in and out of children's hospitals with my own children, the biggest thing that I understand about building it for children is if you do that and make the child comfortable, the parent then is so much more comfortable themselves.
Right.
And that really lowers everything. As the more anxious mama is or daddy is, the more anxious the child is. And
Yes.
so to see your child being able to do that is lowering that for the parents.
Right. Yeah, I've definitely seen a big change in parents who come through with their kids and they leave out and it was like, that was fun. So we like to hear that. We like to see that
exactly.
It wasn't, whatever they were coming here for, they look forward to coming to this place because it was fun.
That's incredible. That's just incredible. Hi, it's me again, Crystal McDaniel, Mrs. Chattanooga America, and right now we are still in the Kennedy Outpatient Center. I got it right this time. I got it right, and Andrea's over there going, yes, she did. I got it right this time. That's a part of the Children's Hospital at Erlanger. So, and I did that one too. How about that? Okay, so I'm here with, right now, I am here with Dr. Peggy Wilkins, and she is one of the child psychologists here at Erlanger, and she's here to support the children and the parents and help them through these difficult processes and to be able to learn how to cope with what's going on, especially in the very hard things that some of these children and parents are having to go through. So we're going to hear from Dr. Wilkins here on how she actually helps support the parents and the children here. So Dr. Wilkins, what actually inspired you to become a child psychologist?
That's a good question. It wasn't something that I thought about initially as I was growing up, but I liked kids. Mm-hmm. So I spent a lot of time just kind of hanging out with children, babysitting when I was in high school, and did a lot of just, probably my friends thought I was a little bit weird because I spent a lot of time just hanging out and babysitting with other kids. And then I decided I was thinking about being a pediatrician, but then I didn't really want to go to medical school, so I thought, what can I do that will get me in the place I want to be? And I landed on child psychology, so it just turned out to be good. I've been here for almost 30 years.
Wow.
So.
Wow, with the T.C. Thompsons and involved with that?
Yep.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Okay, so you provide aid for the emotional needs of the children when they're both going through chronic and acute illnesses. That's correct?
Well, that's one of the things I do. I mean, I see lots of kids that they're not necessarily always chronically or acutely ill, but that is one piece. One piece
of it. What's the other piece? What are some of the other pieces that you do?
Well, a lot of kids that are ADHD, depressed, anxiety. Some kids that are in Department of Children's Services custody. Just kind of a wide range of clientele.
Oh wow! So it's not just the kids that are like really sick that come in, correct, or on an illness basis that come into the children's thing. You have
correct
like a what would we call it, like outward reach into the
absolutely.
community to do
Absolutely.
that.
Mhm.
Okay, that's really wonderful to know. Okay, so what type of therapies do you use in order to help? Let's just use the children with the illnesses at the moment, and then you
Okay.
can sort of share what you might do for somebody that maybe is struggling with depression or. And let me ask one more question. I know I'm throwing a lot at
That's
you at
okay.
the moment, but I'm thinking about teenagers too. Do you do teenagers as well?
Oh, for sure.
So
Lots of
it's
teenagers.
a wide range.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
So and what you do to help them be able to cope with the anxiety and depression, because I know it's rampant right now in young people.
It is.
Just for
You're
what?
absolutely, that's
Yeah.
absolutely true.
Because with what I do, I'm a professional opera singer, but I also own my own voice studio. And when I'm working with these voice students, I see anxiety that is just through the roof with them. So
I'm sure you do.
Yeah, I do. I do, and I've seen it grow. And I'm sure that's what you're running into. So do you mind telling us a little bit about the coping skills that you help them with, or the therapies that you do?
Well, I think a variety of things. But I'm not really, what do I say, dedicated or kind of like only focused on one particular kind of therapy. I mean, some things are going to be like pretty straight cognitive behavioral types of therapies. Some things with younger kids are going to be like more art, using art, using storytelling, using play therapy with younger kids. With older kids, I mean, a lot of times we're just talking about what's going on in their lives. I have actually 3 dogs, like my personal dogs that are also pet therapy dogs.
Oh, wonderful.
That come to my office, and so a lot of times we'll take the dogs outside and we'll walk and talk in a couple of neighborhoods that are pretty close by to here. They're really sweet neighborhoods with big houses and trees and all. And
Yeah.
so then we'll just kind of walk and talk. And with teenagers, that's a really nice thing to do, right? You just kind of just start talking about what's on their mind and trying to help them problem solve. Well, what can you do about the situation? What can you not do about the situation? What's in your control? What's not in your control? So I would say probably a variety of strategies.
Okay, that's great. That's really, really great. What techniques do you use to help the separation anxiety when they're separated from their parents, especially when they're going through a medical
Like in a
thing?
medical
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times within a hospital, they're not necessarily separated from their parents, because parents are allowed to be in the hospital a lot.
Okay.
Right? They can sleep over. There's a lot of times if there's multiple family members, they can go to their Ronald McDonald's house. Right?
Oh, right,
Which is
right.
right down the street. So there's
Exactly.
not necessarily a lot of separation in when kids are in the hospital. And within the hospital, there also are child life specialists. So their job is they work in the hospital, they run a playroom, they have a variety of different games and video, electronics for kids. And their job is to really help kind of normalize the hospital situation, and also to kind of walk kids through various procedures.
Okay.
To kind of explain, like, this is what's going to happen, this is how it's going to run, answer questions. With the younger kids, a lot of times they'll be, like using stuffed animals to, like, this is what's going to happen to you, let's do this stuffed animal. So you can kind of, as younger kids can have a better idea about what's coming up.
Okay. What type of training do they obviously have to have some sort of
Child life
training to do it?
specialists?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are specialized training programs for child life specialists.
Okay.
So,
can you give us a little overview about what that training might be for them?
well, I'm sure it has to do with, they have to learn kind of child development,
Mhm.
kind of what is expected development. They're going to learn a lot about hospital procedures. Because they're working in a hospital, so they need to kind of know what is happening in a hospital. And they're going to learn a lot about probably just kind of calming and self-soothing types of strategies that kids can learn
Right.
in a hospital.
It sounds like that this place, specifically TC Thompson's, it sounds like they're doing a really good job
Oh, I
to
think so.
actually support that mental and emotional health for the
sure.
children. And I said earlier to Andrea that when your child, I've had experience with being in and out of the hospital with my own children, and when your child is upset, you're upset.
Oh, for sure.
And if your child is calm, you feel better about it, and you feel better about the people that you're handing them over to. That's right.
Yeah.
And that certainly helps the you know, the trauma and the anxiety and fear that everyone goes through. Yeah. That's really wonderful to hear about that. That's great. When a child develops PTSD from a traumatic medical experience or even a traumatic life experience, it could be, you know, when you're talking about the depression or the ADHD or whatever they're going through, what do you find helpful to teach and support the child to develop good coping skills? What do you find?
Well, I think that partially depends on, number one, the age of the child.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're talking between 4 and 14 is a big range, or 18 or whatever the age range is. And part of it also really depends on kind of like their social support, right? So sometimes kids that have really good support, it's easier for them in some ways sometimes because they have a lot of people around them kind of supporting them and holding them up. And I think it also depends on kind of when you talk about medical trauma.
Yes.
Right? You're talking about whether or not it's like an accident, like an acute problem.
Yes.
Right, versus a chronic problem.
Right.
So some kids they have a one-time thing that is very traumatic, you know, car wreck or fire in their house or, you know, all kinds of things that can happen.
Exactly.
Whereas other times kids are going to be having chronic illnesses. So
Yes.
they have, you know, GI problems or diabetes or cystic fibrosis or those kind of things that can be, you know, lifetime issues.
Exactly.
So I think part of the answer to the question really is you have to kind of individualize, right?
Yes.
Based on the child and their age and their support and what type of problem they're facing.
Exactly.
So, and I would say, you know, some of the things are a lot of what we talked about already, you know, kind of being able to help kids problem solve, being able to learn how to self-calming skills, you know, deep breathing skills, maybe a little bit of yoga or other types of things like that. And if it gets really difficult, I don't personally do like EMDR, but that's a possibility for kids that are older children or young adults that have
Do you do DBT with them?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it sounds like you've had some experience yourself with some types of throwing out some terminology.
Yeah, DBT, just so you know, is dialectical behavior therapy, and it's really in depth, and there's a lot of things to it, but it really does teach the easiest or some of the easy coping skills in the beginning of it that you can just sort of go to immediately, and then the more you do it, the deeper it gets, and the harder it gets to be able to do it.
It's interesting because I've had teenagers bring stuff to me, like, you know, some like, you know, websites or applications or apps that they found that, like, have you ever tried this one? And they'll bring it to me, and I'm like, no, I've never tried it. And, you know, tell me about it. And then it's nice to get information from them and then spread it around to other people.
That's right. I said that's the one thing about, you know, Google. You can find tools a lot of times to be able to help yourself, and the apps they have now are sort of nice. I have one on my phone that is called I Am, and it periodically during the day, it just all of a sudden pops
up, right? I know that one.
Yeah, it pops up. You know, and I Am does a self-affirmation thing, and it lets you, and I usually try to speak it out loud if I think that it's a good one that applies, and sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, that one doesn't work out for me. But the ones that actually apply and actually will help me through the day, I have those pop up, and that's a really good tool that I use. Yesterday I had a really big anxiety attack, and I was using DBT like crazy. I was pulling up, I pulled up, where's my favorite place in the world? What does it look like? Because that's a quick one that they can do. I had to, you know, do that. So yeah, that's something that I'm sure you teach the young ones to be able to do.
Lots of those kind of imagery types of exercises, you know, kind of self-calming exercises, and being able to just kind of talk and walk themselves through it. Right.
And this is important to teach them. I mean, don't you find that it's really important to teach them as young people, because then they can carry that habit into their adulthood and be able to deal with a healthy,
well, you know, it's
with
interesting
life
because there are some places some schools even that have, like, you know, mindfulness or yoga types of programs that they start in kindergarten with just as part of, like, this is our curriculum.
Wow.
We're going to start teaching this as part of our curriculum, and every day we're going to spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes or however much time it is doing little mindfulness exercises and meditation and reflection, those types of things.
Well, I know my daughter graduated with her master's from the University of Miami, and they have these weird little pods all over campus, and you can tell that it's a bougie school, I'm telling you, because I mean they have a lot of money down there to have these little pods periodically all around the campus where they can just go in and meditate and rest. All of a sudden they can just go into the pod and like pay $5 or whatever, and they go into the pod, close the door, and and I thought, okay, well, I said,
It's nice.
yeah, I wish they had them on the sidewalks here in Chattanooga. That would be a good, Mr. Mayor, just a suggestion. You got bicycles, let's do some pods. Because that's a really cool thing. Okay, so our last question here is, do you also give emotional and mental support to the parents?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, kids come with parents.
You can't
Every
separate
time
them.
they come with parents or grandparents or, some other adult with them. So for sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So how does that work for you? Or
Well,
is it just
probably-
one session or?
No, I wouldn't say it's one session. I think it's kind of an ongoing process, and partly it's a function of kind of talking about development and what to expect, like what is developmentally appropriate and what is not developmentally appropriate, and how do we handle things that are not developmentally appropriate, and how do we be okay with things that are, even if we don't like them, right? Because there's some things, like in teenagers, that are developmentally appropriate that parents are like, "Rah, I don't like this," and you're like, well, that's your kid's 13, so
You sort of need that.
that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And I think another part of it is some parenting, kind of talking about parenting and how difficult it can be, and offering different ideas and suggestions. Well, if you try and kind of problem solving with them. So if you've already tried X, Y, and Z and they haven't worked, well, maybe we can think of some other ideas that will work, and you can try them out. And if they don't work, then we'll try something else. So kind of being more of a partner with the parents and saying, let's figure out what's going to work best with your child and your family and your resources, what you can do, what you can't do.
So and not in a way, but you're actually helping them learn how to build a better foundation for themselves and the child with communication and listening and all of those things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's really important. That particular skill is so important, and I think that many times we're missing that within a family unit.
For sure.
Yeah, it's missing, and we're wanting.
I think particularly when multiple people are stuck on electronics. Everyone's in their corner on their phone. Sometimes you just have to get people to put their phones down and actually speak with each other, like face to face.
Well, that happened. Honestly, that happened with us on the way over here. He had my tripod for this thing, and he was just on his phone. And I went, Jacob, can we visit and just put the phone down? And he went, I'm looking up how to work your tripod. And I went, oops. Because he was actually doing it. He said, there's a thing that we have to know how to do that, and I'm looking up because you don't know how to use your own tripod. And I'm like, that's very true, but we have a rule about phones and things like that. So, and that's true because they're communicating more that way than they are with another human being.
Right.
So do you see a breakdown in that communication now, or because of the electronics, or what do you see?
Well, I think there's positive and negative for electronics, but I think that is one thing that happens is people get less and less face-to-face interaction and more kind of like texting and various other kinds of interaction on electronics.
Okay.
So sometimes it can be really beneficial to just say, look, just put them down and have dinner together and talk to each other over the dinner table, kind of a thing.
Yeah, right. So I'm going to put you on the spot for just a second and ask you a random question that just popped into my mind, because I obviously did some research and made my little list of questions for you. But I want to know if you could do one thing that you think could change or to help the Chattanooga area build up their mental health awareness and build up a better foundation for that here in the Chattanooga area, what would that be? What do you think?
Foundation?
Yeah. I think you know, in our society right now and in our culture right now, you know, like we talked in the beginning, that anxiety is so high. And some of that came off of COVID, and some of it is just because the world changes so fast, and nobody knows what's going to happen, especially in different communities and cultures of people, you know. And when I think about Chattanooga, I think about the fact that they've done so much for the environment and to change how the environment, because when I grew up, this city was brown.
That's what I've heard.
I mean, it was brown. It was, and it was
That's
considered the number one polluted city in the entire country. And when I remember, my memory is almost black and white of being a child here in Chattanooga, and it's almost that way because the city was so brown. And down on the river, you just saw smokestacks just pumping out bad stuff in the thing. So it was really crazy. And then they came up with a plan to start cleaning it up. So they have a foundation. When I'm looking at it that way, that's an example. They have a foundation of bringing a healthier air system, healthier environment, and then they started doing all the river park, because I actually got to sing for the opening of the Chattanooga River Park. I'm very proud of that, because when it opened, I was there, and that makes me very proud of that, because it's beautiful. And so that's another thing where they're making it so environmentally friendly. So when I'm thinking about mental health, we've got this physical health going on here, but what do you see in the mental health community, and how do you think that foundation can grow that way?
Well, I think it's here, like anywhere. I think one of the bigger problems is this lack of providers. We need more providers, but that's probably true everywhere. Right?
Okay.
Because the waiting lists are really long for people to get help.
Wow.
I think the other thing in terms of foundational stuff, maybe the thing that we talked about before, was kind of addressing mental health issues in schools, right? And having there be potentially either through school counselors or through other, kind of school personnel, foundational classes, working on, teaching skills that are kind of like more mindfulness skills and self-calming skills and those types of things to kids, even starting like really early, like even in elementary school.
Right.
That'd be a way to kind of start. That would be kind of feel more organic, and as you grow up, you're just like, oh, I just know these things. It's not like some kind of foreign language.
Exactly. Because a lot of things, if you're thinking about Generation X and millennials and what is the next one? What do they call the next one? Generation Alpha. Generation. They're all going. Yeah, that's it. The Generation Alpha and all of that. You have us. Or me, or I'm not going to speak for you, but us that are in Generation X, and honestly, you could go into the house and go, I died, and they would say, oh, get up and walk it off, so it was generational passing on, that unhealthy mental behavior, where we don't want to hear it, we're not going to talk about it, things like that. Where the millennials tend to be more into the mental health and alpha, because they've got more things. So, the generational issue, you're saying that what I'm hearing you say is that when you were starting, if we had a system that could start the children there, then we can start sort of breaking down that cycle.
Well, I just also think just teaching basic skills like from the get-go, right?
Right.
And you could, I had this when my granddaughter, who's 13 now, was 4. There was one time she said to me, Mimi, just take a deep breath. I was upset about something. She goes, just take a deep breath, because she was learning deep breathing skills in her preschool. So
that's wonderful. How amazing is that?
Was great. So that kind of thing, right?
And just so you know, did you just hear the child psychologist say even she has to be told to take a breath by her grandchild? And I think that's important, that it's human. Right. That we make it human, instead of thinking that everyone just has to be this perfect human being, which causes so much anxiety, that, we all get it, and it's human. And I think that's very important. Thank you for bringing up that point, and thank you for your time to do this, because this is, I think it's important that people be able to hear this point of view and see what this wonderful facility actually does to help support. So thank you so very much for your time. I appreciate it. Okay, everyone, we're finishing up here, and it has been wonderful. I thank my friend Andrea Perry for arranging this, and I thank you for being here. I thank my son for filming it for us today. And I thank Megan. She's part of the public relations. She doesn't want to be on the camera, but she's part of the public relations here at this facility. And I want to say to you, I'm Crystal McDaniel, Mrs. Chattanooga America. This is the heartbeat of what I like to see and how people interact. And this is my Chattanooga.